Well, welcome. It is time for Constitution Radio. Douglas V. Gibbs here on KMET 1490 AM. Great to have you. And as the music started playing, I was sending an email. So I was racing the start of the program to get this thing off. And I made it with only a second to spare. Welcome to the program. We got a lot to talk. Man, I tell you what, did Trump have a good week or did Trump have a good week? That's what I'm going to start with here. Absolutely incredible. And not only absolutely incredible how good of a week he's had, but absolutely incredible how crazy the Democrats have been. So let me run over a few things here real quick, and then I'll let these guys, Alan Myers, Alex Ferguson, and Dennis Jackson join in. But let me get my monologue and the opening stretch in play here. All right, so let's run down what we got. We got Pelosi has orchestrated this political coup along with Schiff and all these other knuckleheads. And her pre-planning even went so far as the ripping in half the State of the Union speech was way premeditated, as was her making sure that it looked like Donald J. Trump snubbed her handshake. I'll go over that in a little bit. President Trump was acquitted. He was quoted as saying, "We were abused by the FISA process." I can't wait to talk about that part. Bernie Sanders says the socialist is spending more money than anybody else. He's raising, well, I shouldn't say more money than anybody else. Bloomberg and Tom Steyer are spending more money. But when it comes to actual politicians, he's doing more flying in his private jet, as he, tries to yell at everybody's, footprint regarding climate change. And he admits that if he addresses the man-made climate change hoax as he plans to, that it will result in job losses. Yeah, that's something to run. Hey, I'm going to raise your taxes and you're going to lose your job. Biden, fourth place, only non-hardcore socialist on the Democrat stage. Bloomberg, not only does he believe that the average American should not own a gun, but he's paying his way into a presidency while hammering on the wealthy and then paying social media influencers to click like on his social media pages. Buttigieg was caught inserting a Mayor Pete was caught inserting audience applause into a CNN town hall clip. And he says there's no evidence that killing Soleimani made America safer. The Iowa caucus is still a mess. Nobody knows who won. The Democrats can't even count a few thousand votes, but they want to run the country. James Carville, this is the quote of the week. This is my favorite quote of the entire week. James Carville, the Democrats are losing their damn minds. Good stuff. Socialism. This is my second favorite quote of the week. Tammy Bruce on the Sean Hannity show. Socialism. Policies that historically destroy lives and destroy nations. Joy Behar gets my third favorite quote of the week. I'm crazy today. He's made me crazy this week because he's winning. I'm getting nuttier and nuttier. That's awesome. Sondland and Vindman have been excused. We will talk about that. New Hampshire. Boring snooze fest included challenges to Buttigieg's experience, race and reparations, and a full embrace of socialism. Trump administration raises $100 million during the impeachment. Trump's policies have led to the U.S. adding 225,000 jobs in January, blowing away all predictions and dropping the unemployment rate to 3.5%, a record low. And in China, this is the final story I want to talk about today. In China, journalists covering the coronavirus are vanishing. But what I want to open up with is this. I titled today's show, What's at Stake? Thursday night, I was in Beaumont at the Four Seasons Glad Republicans meeting. Don Dix, who has a radio program on that other station, the one that carries Rush, he's actually, I think he has two radio shows on that station, and he fills in on a third radio show. Don Dix has been a longtime friend of mine. He was the opening act, and he had a lot to say, and it was brilliant. But I commended him because every time he talked about the United States, he used the word republic. Our republic. He left the word democracy at the door. And I capitalized on that. He also was talking about what was at stake in this election. And I got up there and I said this. What's at stake in this election and every election is the U.S. Constitution. Every election, our U.S. Constitution is in danger. Every election. And when I say Constitution, I mean your liberty. When I say Constitution, I mean your free market. When I say Constitution, I mean your right to keep and bear arms and protect our society from tyranny. When I say Constitution, I mean your natural rights. When I say U.S. Constitution, I mean your American way of life. It's all at stake every election, especially now, but every election. We have a Democrat Party that is no longer a Democrat Party. Now, being a Democrat Party was bad enough. Pure democracy, after all, is the road to socialism. But they have thrown away the veil. You know, and I was talking to, I almost got a couple of friends of mine on today's show. I think I'm going to get them for next week's program. One of them was raised in communist Poland. The other one was raised in communist Ukraine before the wall fell. I would love for them to tell you, first of all, that when these Democrats are talking about socialism, progressivism, or whatever name they want to give it, what they're really talking about is communism. They are communists. They are Soviet-style communists. They are straight-up Marxists, and they want to take your liberty from you. That's why they hate this president. He stopped that onward march towards socialism, towards communism. And they can't stand it because they thought they had turned the corner. They had thought they had finally gotten to our children, and our children was ready to vote in socialism. Now, that said, they're patient. They figure we will die and the children will then finish off the job. Except for the children are watching all of this and going, this is garbage. Now, that said, I shouldn't let the children off too easy, or the Democrats. You're not going to believe this. All right. There were two polls that were recently taken. One of them was a poll, and all. Where the heck is it? Oh, here we go. Well, let me look at this poll here. The poll I have right in front of me, I can't find the other one for some strange, crazy reason. Democrat voters between the age of 18 and 34. 18 and 34, the millennials. 51% polled view socialism favorably or in a positive manner. 14% negatively. The remainder had no opinion. Did you hear what I just said? We have a Democrat Party that's off the rails. They're youngsters. Only 14% believe that socialism is a bad thing. Only 14%. 51% believes that socialism is a good thing. Did you hear me, folks? Now that's bad enough. But, you know, what about the older folks? What about the people who, and I'm going to move my screen here just for a second because I gotta access something there. All right, now I'm back because I want to get the other poll up, and earlier I couldn't pull it up. Here we go. All right. Well, what about all of the Democrats? So we got 51% positive, 14% negative. The rest didn't care. All right, when it came to ages 18 to 34, when it comes to the here, let me move this a little bit better. When it comes to socialism. But how about the whole party? This is an NBC News Wall Street Journal poll. NBC Wall Street Journal poll of just Democrat primary voters, just all of them. What are their views on socialism? 40% positive, 23% negative. The Democrat Party needs to change its name to the Communist Party. They need to merge the Communist Party USA and let the Democratic Socialists of America join in because they're all the same. This is what we're up against. They don't care about what Tammy Bruce said, that the policies of socialism destroy lives and destroy nations. They've seen Venezuela, and they blame Trump and the Republicans and the big corporations for the failure of socialism there. Because, don't worry, socialism works, they just need to apply it properly. That's their attitude. It hasn't been applied properly, even though it's failed throughout history. Every time it's been applied, not even Rome. You know, Rome failed when they started putting in place what today we would consider to be socialist policies. That's when they collapsed from within. Every time it's tried, it fails. Every time. And we've got a Democrat Party that has pushed aside the veil. They're no longer worried about hiding who they really are. It's all about changing this country into a socialistic system. And you know what? The Constitution was written to disallow socialism. There's nothing in the Constitution that allows the federal government to have any control over the means of production. There is nothing in the Constitution that allows the federal government to stick its nose into domestic issues. Nothing. Had a Democrat on Thursday night walk up to me and say, well, Doug, don't you want a country that takes care of its people? And I said, no, I want people who take care of themselves. Why would I want some bureaucrat in some office on the other side of the country making decisions based on my region that he knows nothing about? On my life, telling me what I can or can't do. I want people who take care of themselves. Oh, well, Doug, what about a safety net? Well, if each state wants to have one, that's up to each state. None of the federal government's business. Socialism kills. Every time. People die. Let's go to break. When we come back, I'm going to bring my friends in on this conversation, and we're going to really tear it up. So don't go anywhere. And you want to call in, 951-922-3532. I want to hear from you. 951-922-3532. Let's talk about the Constitution, politics, and what's going on in our country after this break.
Help me fight the good fight. This radio program is funded by advertising dollars. So, if you are a business, add Constitution Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs to your business portfolio. If you are a listener, become a patron of the businesses advertising on this program. Without advertising, your weekend dose of truth ends. With more advertising, Constitution Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs grows, and we will be on the way to win the battle to restore the Republic. To learn more, email us at constitutionspeaker@yahoo.com or visit douglasvgibbs.com. The Constitution Association's website is at constitutionassociation.com. Constitution Association believes that the Constitution is the solution and the real hope for America. Be a hero in America's story. Make a difference. Protect, preserve, promote, restore the Constitution. Reclaim the Republic. Make America constitutional again. ConstitutionAssociation.com. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our records indicate that you've been lied to. Listen to the truth. Constitution Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs, Saturdays at 1 p.m. on KMET.
The true patriots of All-Star Collision have been proudly serving the Inland Empire for over 20 years. Built on honesty, integrity, quality, and old-fashioned customer service, we offer lifetime warranties for our work, and every vehicle serviced by All-Star Collision is washed, detailed, the headlights polished, fluids are checked and topped off, safety checked, and returned in showroom condition. We offer free estimates, are approved by major insurance companies, and accept all claims for all cars and trucks. We use computerized frame straightening to factory specifications, offer fiberglass body repair and paint, free local pickup and delivery, and after-hours towing. Mention this radio program at drop-off and receive $100 off or a free rental car for up to 5 days during your repair. Visit us at allstarci.com or at 522 Railroad Street in Corona. Call us at 951-279-9161. We are the kings of wreck and roll.
Hey, do you know about the USA? Do you know about the government? Can you tell me about the Constitution? Hey, learn about the USA.
The Constitution is the instruction booklet for taking back the country. Douglas V. Gibbs.
1787, I'm told our founding fathers did agree to write a list of principles for keeping people free. The USA was just starting out.
Welcome back. Constitution Radio, Douglas V. Gibbs, KMET 1490 AM. Love the station. Love coming to you on Saturdays from 1 to 3. Glad you're with us. Man, I sent out my email about this show, like right as it was starting. So for those of you who just got the email, like, Doug, why didn't you warn me? Sorry. I've been busy. Haven't been putting out any videos last week or so either. I need to put out some videos. Excuse me. I'm still choking on what Alan told me off mic about what Biden had to say last night. We'll get to New Hampshire, though. We'll get to that. So the title of today's show is What's at Stake? The image, if you go to Political Pistachio, is the bumper sticker that I've created. I'm out. I need to buy more. Donate, man. DouglasVGibbs.com, politicalpistachio.com. Donate so I can buy some more bumper stickers. They say U.S. Constitution trumps socialism. And then also help pay for the program. All-Star Collision has paid their fair share. Talking about playing with words. There's no commercials during the second hour because listeners, you pretty much always pay for that second hour. And we're on a new contract. We need help. DouglasVGibbs.com, politicalpistachio.com. Either one, find the yellow donate button. Help out the program. I tell you what, this station has been good to us, works with us, but we need your help as always. All right, now, 951-922-3532 if you want to participate. And let's talk about Pelosi for a second. I want to back up a little bit. I want to go back to Tuesday, State of the Union. Did you notice how easily she tore his speech? What I found out later is she had actually, prior to her doing that, and it was seen, I can't remember by who, put little rips on the edges so that the ripping would be performed flawlessly for the camera. Pre-planned, premeditated, orchestrated ripping in half of the State of the Union speech. And I thought, when I saw her rip that thing in half, I'm thinking, you want to talk about petulant, childish. Pretty much summed her up. But the one I really want to talk about here, and I'm going to get the guys on, is she accused Trump of snubbing her handshake after he handed her the speech, and she put her hand out for a handshake, and he snubbed her. No, he didn't. That was timed. It was planned. She wanted to be able to say that. If you look carefully, first of all, when you listen to her, she has no intent to want to shake the guy's hand. She doesn't even like being in the same room with him, much less shake his hand. Number one. Number two, she offered her hand as he was already turning his head away from her and his eyes were already averted from him. He didn't see her, and she planned it that way. But she wanted, these people are so fake, such crooks, that they're even willing to lie about a handshake. Dennis, I don't know if you saw the images or the video of this, but, and all this stuff we're talking about, we'll go through all of it. But right now I want to talk about this. To me, it was obvious that she planned it that way. He had no clue she extended her hand, and in real life, she wouldn't want to extend her hand to him anyway. I mean, it was a complete, I mean, I tell you, between Schiff or her, I'm not sure who should get the Emmy for the best acting job. What do you think, Dennis?
Well, when I first saw that, and then they played it over again as well, of course, on the news. But, I mean, he handed it to Pence, and he didn't shake Pence's hand. He had both of them. He handed it to Pence. He pivoted to her. And, you know, I saw the handshake because, you know, you're looking at it, you know, from in front of the podium, you know, with the camera view. Right. I saw a hand come out, but my immediate thought was that a little late or not? You know, I wasn't really sure if he snubbed her or not, and if he did, you know, I thought, well, okay, she probably deserves it, you know, but, you know, he's just being who he is, you know, but in the back of my mind, I wondered if the hand came up a little late after he pivoted. Then I thought, well, maybe he was calculating. He gave it to Pence and didn't shake his hand so that he could give it to her and, you know, not shake her hand, but I don't know. You know. Well,
you know, if I was him, I wouldn't want to shake her hand anyway. Well, but no, I mean, she has done nothing but go after him. Yeah. So, you know, that said, though, my point is not whether or not he was willing to, but the fact that she basically put on her, you know, acting helmet to try to make it look like something it may or may not have been. When they got to start acting, and you know, here's what I think of actors. They're really good at pretending, and that's it. When they have to pretend and lie and orchestrate stuff to try to make it look good for them, you know they're in trouble.
Well, I wouldn't put it past her that she did do that, you know. And I heard what you said, and I flashed back and replay it in my mind, and that could very well be the truth. It wouldn't be beyond me at all, you know, to think that this is all planned. You can see her when she ripped the papers. She didn't want to rip too many at one time, so, you know, she had them separated, and she was playing around with them, you know, all during the speech, off and on. So, yeah, there's not a whole lot of class at all. And then, of course, I heard later,
it summed her up. Her daughter, of course, you know, laughingly says, "Well, that's what happens when you anger an Italian grandma." Really? But
well, you know, the fact that she didn't introduce him properly, you know, I think also kind of set the stage for whatever happened there at the end. You know, she did not say it was her, you know, honor to announce and, you know, distinguished and, you know, all the standard line that is given. You know, she snubbed him in her comments. And so, you know, if he snubbed her at the back, you know, fair's fair. But, you know, I did think when I saw it that the hand came out a little late and he might not have seen it. So you can give him the benefit of the doubt on that as well.
No, it was the height of disrespect, what she has been doing and has done. And when Alex, now, am I right? Does it look like it was completely orchestrated, premeditated, and she should maybe win an Oscar or an Emmy for her acting there, or what do you think?
This is symbolism over substance. It's typical of the left. They don't produce food. They don't produce housing. They don't produce innovation and technology. All they do is play word games and symbol games. It's all a fraud.
Everything they do is.
Pardon?
It's like Islam's taqiyya, except for its progressive's version of taqiyya.
Yeah, they just play games. and games won't put food on the table, won't put doctors in the operating room.
Right. Alan, did you watch that video? Do you think it was? Do you think it was play acting, or did she seriously want to shake his hand?
To Dennis's point, I believe did Pence get the? Because I didn't see. I only saw part of it.
He gave a copy to Pence first. Then he gave a separate copy to her.
Right. He gives a copy to Pence, walks on, doesn't shake his hand.
Well, he's at the podium, and he basically turns around, hands a copy, because when you're looking at him giving his State of the Union speech, you're looking head on. To your left, his right, behind him is Mike Pence. To your right, to his left, behind him is Nancy Pelosi. So early on, he turns, hands a copy to Pence, hands a copy to Pelosi. When he hands a copy to Pence, he doesn't shake his hand. He doesn't do anything other than just hand it to him, turns to Pelosi, hands her the other one, and then now he's turning back around to face us, to face the camera. His head was already in that motion of turning away from her. So I guarantee you he wasn't like looking back at her, or his eyes were following his head. So his eyesight was coming back around towards us to face the camera, with Pelosi behind him to his left. And she, after grabbing it, sticks her hand out real fast like she wants to shake his hand, but she does it as his head has already started turning away. Now, then she gets all over media, and media is all over it, saying, oh, well, he snubbed her. She offered a handshake. She's trying to play nice, and he's such a jerk, he won't even shake her hand. You know, the Rachel Maddows and the Lawrence, what's his names, and the, Don, I don't know why he says his name is Lemon. It's Lemon. He is a lemon. But, I mean, they're all, and, he snubbed her. She's trying to play nice. She offered a handshake, and that horrible Trump, he refused. No, bullpucky. His head was, he didn't even know she extended her hand probably until hours later when he watched the video.
Well, to the point, okay, handshake or not, if he didn't shake, well, apparently Pence didn't offer his hand.
Right.
He's the president is in the mode to speak. Is really a handshake the pivotal moment of this whole entire event?
No, but the reason why it's being brought up is because of the imagery that she was trying to create, which goes back to what Alex was saying. You got image over substance. And she's trying to create this symbolism, this image of him being a jerk, rather than what's the substance of everything? What did he say? What was meant? So on and so forth. None of that was addressed.
To the point regarding the preparation for the tearing of the speech, there was one photo shot from above and behind Pelosi that showed little tear marks on both sides. And it's like, okay, if you're gonna go tit for tat, not shaking your hand, is that the same, equal to, worse than, better than, while tearing it up at the end?
But it was okay. I tore it up because it was a manifesto of mistruths.
What a disrespect to the office of president. Could you imagine if, like, Boehner had done that to Obama?
Oh, it would be terrible.
Alex, and let's bring on Alex. I heard him trying to insert a minute ago. Could you imagine, Alex, if Boehner had done that to Barack Obama at the end of his State of the Union speech?
There were people brought up during that speech. One Tuskegee survivor.
She's criticizing him for having all of his guests, by the way.
Various heroes of our society that anybody would honor, and she's discrediting them all.
Yeah, they all sat on their hands too.
Yeah.
On that, not a single one of them were applauding those people. And then she criticized later. Well, he had all these guests, and that's not what the State of the Union's for. Shoot, man, Obama had more than that, and his were definitely symbols. Symbolism. He was trying to put across a certain image. So the hypocrisy is deep anyway. I was wearing hip boots during that, State of the Union speech, just watching her because her crap was getting so deep, man. I was almost drowning in it. But it was absolutely incredible. Let's move on a little bit. Here's the thing that bothered me about the State of the Union. They had not acquitted him yet, so technically he couldn't kind of do a victory lap during the State of the Union because technically he had not been acquitted yet. It wasn't until Wednesday. That bothered me. But nonetheless, our president has been acquitted from, the impeachment charges. Now, the Democrats, specifically Pelosi, why he's impeached forever. Well, you know what? He's acquitted forever. But President Trump made an interesting statement regarding that acquittal. We were abused by the FISA process. I think that the investigations regarding these FISA documents and what was going on and how, this was all paid for by the fake Russian dossier, paid for by Hillary's money, so on and so forth. It's got to result in arrest. Of course, Omar's still walking around without being arrested with all things against her. I don't know why she's not in handcuffs yet, but surely the abuse of the FISA process, and Alan Dershowitz is all over saying the FISA courts themselves are unconstitutional. But nonetheless, the abuse by the FISA process, it's got to have the rats nervous. Alex, I want you to start on this one because you've been probably paying closer attention than anybody. What do you think is going to come out of these investigations regarding the FISA process? I mean, the FISA process was abused, but do you think we're going to see the hammer come crashing down on some people?
Well, this is classic false accusation. It's slander, it's libel, it's ugly, it's filthy, and I think people are reacting to it. Now the problem is that Trump has too many people left over from Obama.
Yeah, well, he's gotten rid of a couple of them, but absolutely. Well, and then people talk about term limits. I don't want term limits. I want to fire all the bureaucrats, the staffers. They're the problem.
He could do that, and I don't know why he doesn't. It was the same thing with...
Well, because could you imagine the criticism? Oh, see, now he's, trying to, solidify his empire,
Well, Bill Clinton fired like 59 prosecutors.
Yeah, well, he fired all of them but one.
And nobody said a word.
Right.
But when
Bush came along, I think he fired like a couple dozen of them, and they were all up in arms.
So we're dealing with an establishment, a deep state. This is not going to go easy. It's going to be a hard pull the whole way. But eternal vigilance is the price of liberty.
Right. That's a great quote by Jefferson. Exactly right.
Now, one of the problems here is that we're always arguing about the efficiency of socialism. People forget that, everybody gets upset about 150 Indians killed at Sand Creek or 250 at
that was a Democrat.
The socialists during 4/5 of the 20th century murdered 100 million people.
Right.
Now, you tell that to a Pelosi or her ilk, and their eyes glass over. They can't see it. They're still worrying about the 150
Well, they
Indians.
respond, it was all the wealthy corporations' fault.
Well,
I'm serious. That's what I've heard. Over and over and over. It's all capitalism's fault.
It's hard to prove that capitalism had an influence on North Korea. They're still torturing and murdering all over the place.
No, and that's what. And the thing is, I was talking to a socialist professor at a Temecula City Council meeting one time, and after I'd given my 3 minutes, the meeting was over. He came up to me and he says, I take issue with you saying that socialism is statist. It's not an authoritarian belief. We just want everybody to, live in harmony and work together for the good of the state. And I said, well, what if someone wants to do better than everybody else? He says, well, he has to be made to comply. Well, there's the statism. There's the authoritarianism. It's a natural consequence of socialism. Well, if you don't allow people to do what they want, then authoritarianism is going to be the natural response. If you're going to try to force people to do something a certain, well, no, it's voluntary. Yeah, but if they don't like it, they got to be forced to comply. That's authoritarianism. That alone. Now that's without going into the deeper, truths that you and I know. Just that on the surface. Just that one thing. And they don't seem. I think they do, because Buttigieg and a few of the others have said, hey, who was it? There was somebody else too. I'm trying to remember who it was, and they said at any cost that progressive socialism has to be put into place at any cost. I mean, come on, really?
Well, we just had.
How many people are going to kill to get there?
We just had a state organizer for Bernie Sanders being interviewed on a secret camera, where he said that absolutely, as soon as they gain power, they're going to put in gulags, and these rich people are all going to be finding themselves breaking rocks.
And the poverty-stricken the Democrat voters are going, yay!
Well,
make sure that kind of stuff.
It's a straight line from liberalism to totalitarian communism.
Mm-hmm. Alan, I began this conversation with Alex regarding the FISA process.
Yeah.
Trump said we were abused by the FISA process. What's your thoughts?
I think because the impeachment went the way it did. There's a lot of things on the table, a lot of information, a lot of what did the FISA do? Who recorded who? Because the president's still in position, the investigation can now begin. I think that's very important, and I want to see the investigation continue. I'd like to, let's get all the details out. Just one other aside, because I was looking at this while everybody was chatting, is that Rush Limbaugh was given the Medal of Freedom.
Right. And you want to talk about humbling that man, by the way. He was on his radio show the following day, just totally humbled by it. And
of course, this was just absolutely horrid. I mean, how could you give him a Medal of Freedom? So I'm up on the list. I want to give you an idea of who the last president gave. And now the Medal of Freedom comes in like 20 different categories. It's amazing.
Yeah. The last one was what? De Niro?
Well, wait a minute. No. In the film and theater section, Obama gave one to Sidney Poitier, one to Meryl Streep, one to Steven Spielberg, one to Robert Redford, one to Robert De Niro, one to Tom Hanks, and one to Cicely Tyson. Okay, but somehow they're more deserving. Then we get into music. Oh my gosh, there's at least one a year. Yo-Yo Ma, Bob Dylan, James Taylor, Barbra Streisand. Who? Yo-Yo Ma.
What the
classic,
heck is a Yo-Yo Ma?
That is a absolutely fabulous classical cellist.
Really?
Yeah.
Never heard.
Okay, then. But
I'm glad you knew, because I'm like, Yo-Yo Ma, what the heck? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing. I was just curious.
Let me see. Let want to find this.
Well, at least it wasn't Lil Wayne getting one.
No, then you got no, he didn't get one. This is good. Journalism. Okay, and I was thinking this is where Rush would be, but it's not. In journalism, Ben Bradley and Tom Brokaw got one from Obama. Now we get to radio.
Well, no, Dan Rather didn't because he got caught lying. The other two never got caught lying, so they were able to get one.
Only 3 people have apparently ever received the Medal of Freedom in the radio category. Rush Limbaugh is the 3rd one.
Interesting. Who were the first 2?
Lowell Thomas, that was Gerald Ford. Paul Harvey by
Paul Harvey. Yeah.
W. Now there is
Paul Harvey was awesome.
But here's the crazy thing. Okay, Rush Limbaugh, who's been out there for decades, every 5 days a week, if not more. There is a Medal of Freedom category for, you got it, television. You've got Lucille Ball, Johnny Carson, but for Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Marlo Thomas, Lorne Michaels, Ellen DeGeneres. Okay, I mean, in a way, you have so many categories for this medal. How important is it?
I almost was tempted to just send, Sean to play a little clip or a little audio piece that said something along the lines of, please excuse the program. We are off the air for a moment as Doug goes and pukes. I mean, geez Louise.
There's a category. Yeah, so it just goes on and on. But in a way, to make a big deal out of this, I mean, it is an honor, of course, to receive an award from. But when you have so many categories.
Well, and the thing is, Rush Limbaugh, of every single name you gave, Rush Limbaugh has been the most influential in a positive way person on this country and information and knowledge than any of them. And yet he's the one that's being criticized.
Well, in a way, he's not being criticized. The president is being criticized for giving him one. But again, I'm not speaking ill of her at all. But it's okay to give one and no one barks when Lucille Ball gets one.
Right.
It's crazy. And to what Alex was talking about, there were a couple of videos of different Bernie Sanders field reps just going completely off on socialism, gulags, getting the really wealthy to break rocks every day, and that came out of Project Veritas.
Well, Dennis was reading, and I don't know if you have it available, Dennis, but he was reading some of the Constitution class on Tuesday that may or may not have been attributed to Bernie. So I tell you what, Dennis, I want to ask you about the FISA process abuse, and I want to ask you if you got that available. But I want to go to break first, which is good for Dennis. Gives him a chance to find it. So let's go to break. When we come back, let's talk to Dennis about the FISA process abuse and what Bernie really thinks when we come back. The Constitution Association's website is at constitutionassociation.com. Constitution Association believes that the Constitution is the solution and the real hope for America. Be a hero in America's story. Make a difference. Protect, preserve, promote, restore the Constitution. Reclaim the Republic. Make America constitutional again. ConstitutionAssociation.com. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Constitution is America's owner's manual. Douglas V. Gibbs is America's Constitution Authority, broadcasting live on KMET, AM 1490 Saturdays at 1 p.m.
Help me fight the good fight. This radio program is funded by advertising dollars. So, if you are a business, add Constitution Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs to your business portfolio. If you are a listener, become a patron of the businesses advertising on this program. Without advertising, your weekend dose of truth ends. With more advertising, Constitution Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs grows, and we will be on the way to win the battle to restore the Republic. To learn more, email us at constitutionspeaker@yahoo.com or visit douglasvgibbs.com.
You got a dent in your door, a scratch in your fender, or a scratch in your door and a dent in your fender. If you need auto detailing, if you need fire shooting decals on the side of your car, if you need a rally stripe right down the middle of your hardtop, I don't care what it is. The Patriots at All-Star Collision are the place you want to go. They're the only place to go. 522 Railroad Street in Corona. Web address allstarci.com to see all that they do and what they're all about. Phone number 951-279-9161. All-Star Collision, the kings of rock and roll.
Welcome back, Constitutional Radio, KMET. You know, I need to fix those All-Star commercials because All-Star Collision is now part of CarStar. So they're actually CarStar All-Star Collision. And I felt kind of the need to say that. We really need to redo those commercials so that they're accurate in the name. But I tell you what, CarStar, All-Star Collision there in Corona has been a supporter of this program longer than any of my advertisers ever have. The second longest was probably Constitution Quest Game, who were there from the beginning. About a year and a half ago, we just no longer could because, you know, the sales of the games now are not what they used to be. Just put it that way. Thank you, CarStar All-Star Collision, for being our primary funding source for this radio program. The second largest funding source are you, the listeners. And the best way for you to help us out is to donate at douglasvgibbs.com or politicalpistachio.com. There's a yellow donate button on both of those pages. And why not, instead of just giving us a one-time amount, donate monthly. $20 a month, $25 a month, $50 a month, $5 a month. How much is this programming worth to you? I know I was talking to a woman on Thursday who said she pays $10 per session for dance lessons. This is more important than dance lessons, folks. I challenge you to give more than $10 a month to this program to help fund what we do. And that funding also not only helps fund the program, but any money that goes into that account also helps with things like purchasing pocket constitutions, which I try to get into schools. I've given in the past hundreds of them to college Republicans at UCR, to the college Republicans at San Diego State. One time I was at the USC book fair, and I must have gone through like 500 pocket constitutions there. But anyway, real quick before we run out of time for the top of the hour. All right. Excuse me. Wow, for some reason I got a little bit of a itch there in my throat. I think it's all that liberal garbage going in, and it's causing me to cough. It's just because it's garbage, and my throat doesn't know what to do with it. It's making me just, sick to my stomach, so I'm coughing. Dennis, all right, so first of all, your thoughts about the FISA process abuses. And then number two, you know what I'm talking about. I'm wondering if you found that it may or it may not have been what Bernie said thing, if you got that.
Yeah. Well, as far as the FISA, routinely when people die, a lot of times if it's suspicious, they do autopsies, and
right.
Part of the time I think it's okay. Sometimes I think it might be kind of a waste of money for all the time that's spent. The person was killed and, to have the information. But here you've got a FISA abuse at the highest level. And that can also be used at lower levels, for guys like you and me. And they need to correct that process. They need to get that disease out, and they need to go through and hold people accountable and indict them whatever it is. But they need to be very transparent.
Somebody's got to go to jail over this. Somebody's got to.
Yeah, I mean, so they need to do that. Period. I mean, it's a huge abuse, especially with the lying, the fact that they've ruined lives, they've arrested people, they've bankrupted people, smeared people. And it was all unjustifiable based on a fake dossier, based upon people changing emails, giving selective information to the court, withholding other information from the court. The court never would have approved this thing if everything was really presented as it should have been.
Yeah, it was all lies. The Russian dossier, and even the New York Times has said that the Russian dossier was Russian disinformation.
Well, and the point is that, they need to deep dig in this. And if the GOP is going to say, well, we don't want to keep beating people up, let's just ride off into the sunset, the impeachment is over. The reason for the impeachment was this, and they need to rip it out by the roots, period.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, as far as some of the other things, this was the comment from the other night, and I've got something else I wanted to bring up that ties into your opening.
We got about 3 minutes, so lickety-split, or 2.5 minutes, really.
Well, it's just simply saying that the candidate for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, Senator Bernie Sanders, took direct aim at the prosperity message of the Trump reelection campaign in his bid to become the nation's next leader. Wages may be up and unemployment at record lows, but the Trump economy lacks the social cohesion needed for a true human society, he asserted. Before capitalism supplanted feudalism, there were solid social bonds. So between the lords and the serfs, neither class could renege on its social responsibility to the other. Now, employers can simply dismiss employees if they are redundant or unproductive, and employees are free to seek other jobs just to get higher pay. This needs to stop. All right, so he thinks feudalism is better. He goes on to talk about proposing a plan that will require government approval for businesses to discharge employees. And he goes on to say, and I'll just do the time, he also goes on to say that there's a social contract between all U.S. Citizens. They get public information, they get government funding for their education, and when they go into society and get a job on that, for the government to get a return on that money, they need to do that. That's their future. They have sold their soul for the sake of this government education and for their first job, and so they have to give up all hopes of changing jobs, changing careers, because they're reneging on the deal. So,
all right, your other comment's going to have to come after the break, and I'll explain a little bit about what he just talked about too when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Mid-show break. Go make a sandwich. Come back. Listen to the second half. Welcome back, Constitution Radio. You got me thinking there, Alan. I left my heart in San Francisco. I left my turd and needles on the streets. Yeah, that could be a new song. Geez Louise. All right, we were talking to Dennis about the about a thing that he said. Maybe reason why I say that is because only one website so far that I've looked at has this. And this website has been known in the past every once in a while do parodies. But regardless of whether or not he actually said it, I believe that Bernie Sanders believes every single word of it. Right, Dennis?
Well,
do you think I'm right there?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's a avowed socialist. He wants the government in control. He wants to force people if necessary. I mean, you've heard some of his followers, supervisors say stuff along that line. So Bernie, I mean, I find it interesting. There's so many of the candidates, they want to run so they can be president and uphold the Constitution of the United States, when all of them are running on platforms that are contrary to the Constitution of the United States. So and then to hear Pelosi and others talk about the Constitution is laughable. But I wanted to bring up something that came across my mind when you were doing your opening monologue. You were, throwing out some percentages of people in the Democratic Party and all of this. And I don't know if you were aware, the other day, Orson Bean, who's 91-year-old actor and all that, who is the father-in-law of Andrew Breitbart. Matter of fact, Breitbart was a liberal, as was Orson Bean, and he walked for FDR back in the day. But as he got older, he got more conservative. And his son-in-law, was in his house, and as they were talking, he noticed a book by Rush Limbaugh, and Orson gave it to Andrew and said, read it. Well, the rest, as they say, is history. But Orson Bean was killed in an automobile accident. He was a pedestrian and got hit by a car or two, and they were talking about his life. And he goes on to say this, which ties into your comment in the opening monologue. Andrew Breitbart, his son-in-law, perhaps better than knew perhaps better than anyone how much culture was upstream from politics. He spent his life fighting for a culture that embraced America and patriotism, which used to be bipartisan. Today, he goes on to say, 60% of the so-called solid liberals, 69% of whom are white, and 41% who are under the age of 40 are not proud to be Americans. So if you're looking at a party that we're running against, and we're trying to preach American patriotism and American results, according to what they're saying here, that the Democratic Party that used to be a party of God and country and family, today 60% of the so-called solid liberals, 70 are so-called solid liberals, and 69% of them are white, and 40% aren't proud of the country. So, those 40% that aren't proud because of what they've been taught. They need to understand what's going on. And the ones that are socialists, of course, they don't want anything to do, with the Constitution. And regrettably, as you were saying, the Democratic Party today, the way it's been hijacked, according to even James Carville, they ought to go ahead and just relabel it. And rather not they want to call it the Democratic Socialists, which is a separate party, which is the party that backed Bernie 4 years ago. Obviously, it wasn't the DNC that backed Bernie. And, of course, basically they are communists. So, yeah, truth in advertising would be a wonderful thing if they could do that in politics.
Well, you brought up Andrew Breitbart, friend. And now, see, for those of you listening on the radio, but you're not watching KMET TV online, you're going to miss out on something. What I'm putting up here is an image of me, my mom, and Andrew Breitbart. So I met Andrew Breitbart. So the image, see that, Alan? Can you see that okay? On my phone?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, so oh man, I was out in what's the name of that town? Stagecoach, Nevada. There was a big Tea Party Express deal way back in, like about a year before he died. And I met him out there, along with Sarah Palin, Joe the Plumber. I didn't get a picture with Sarah Palin, and it was a quick, shake hand, how you do, boom, boom. But with Breitbart, my mom cracked me up, man. She practically grabbed Breitbart by the collar. She's like, hey, my son is here. He's friends of Andrea Shea King. Can you find her for me? And Breitbart's like, yes, ma'am. It was hilarious. But met Joe the Plumber and stuff like that. But anyway, get back to, I didn't mean to interrupt, but get back to Dennis. We've got this is what I was telling someone last night. I was at a Trump dinner last night, and a bunch of Trump supporters dinner kind of thing. Trump wasn't there. I wish it was. And I was telling them, they were talking about this one woman who's sitting across from me named Stephanie was talking about, she and all of her friends or fellow Republicans used to be Democrats, but the Democrat Party isn't the same. And what I explained to her was the Democrat Party is the same. It's just they were really good at hiding who they really were back then. Would you agree with that, Alex?
Well, I'm wanting to make a declaration myself here. I want to declare the Trump doctrine. Back in 1985, I I understood the Reagan doctrine, and I called it the plan. I didn't call it the Reagan doctrine. But Trump has come up with an earth-shaking strategy, and that is.
All right. So what? Do you have details of what the Trump doctrine is? Sorry, I asked that, but go ahead.
Yeah. What he's saying is that for centuries, humanity has had people who make trouble, and they put cannon fodder out in the field, and 1 million young men get slaughtered.
Right.
Now, sometimes it's justifiable homicide, and sometimes it's not. But these kids don't have anything to do with it. They're just getting killed. What Trump is saying is, we're not going to do that anymore if we can help it. What we're going to do is...
Yeah, it's interesting. Let me stop you there just for a second, because I was talking about this the other day. The Founding Fathers' attitude was they weren't not fond of foreign entanglements. Unless it directly influenced us, we really didn't need to be involved in foreign entanglements. That was the attitude. That's Trump's attitude, basically, without him probably even knowing that was the founders' attitude. And that's what amazes me, is he fits what the founders wanted without really even knowing it. He's on the right track. And it's like when we talk about the Kurds and the Turks, this 400-year war, that doesn't influence us. So why are we sending our guys out there who put their lives at risk for something that really doesn't affect us directly? Now, if we've got one of our allies like Israel has been attacked by somebody, okay, I can see us getting out there and helping Israel protect themselves. Or if shipments coming to the United States is attacked, on our trade routes, I could see us then retaliating, or someone, in the case of like Soleimani, was talking about hitting our U.S. embassies. Then, so we take the guy out with an airstrike like Trump did. I get that. But everything else that really doesn't influence us, why are we involved? Why are we spending the money, the blood and sweat and the tears on it? So I agree with you. Now, I apologize for interrupting you, but that's something that just came up in a conversation the other day, and to me, it's a big deal.
Go to the movie 1917.
All right. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I want to.
You see the mass slaughter of innocent young men who are put in there without being a part of the argument.
Right.
So what?
They're just following orders. They're just fighting a war, following orders.
What Trump is saying now, you see, that's the part of the argument that the peace groups, who were always wrong, that's the part of the argument they got right. And what Trump is saying is, we're going to try not to do that. What we're going to do is decapitate these movements. We're going to kill the leaders. And that's what he did with Baghdadi and Soleimani.
Got rid of the leadership, and now you got a snake without a head. Doesn't know what to do.
It's hard to pronounce that guy's name.
Soleimani?
Yeah. What we've been doing,
go ahead.
What we've been doing is, since the ancient Greeks, we've been breeding ourselves backwards.
Right.
We slaughter our best young men. It's survival of the unfittest. The unfittest stay home. I got somebody at the door. The unfittest stay home and make babies, and there's no sense to it. Back in the old days,
are you going to have to answer that door, or is the wife going to do it?
My wife is answering it now.
Oh, okay.
David and Goliath.
I don't want to lose you. I'd have to go on to other things. I don't want to do that just yet.
David and Goliath were an example of the way the ancient people solved it.
Mm-hmm.
They put their best fighters out, had them one-on-one fight the battle, and everybody else survived.
Right.
Now this is earth-shaking in its importance.
Right.
Trump is recognizing the sanctity of life, and he's putting the onus on the people that actually caused the problem. In World War I,
and like I said, that's very, very much so in line with the way the founding fathers looked at it, especially George Washington. I mean, George Washington, believed in peace through strength. He said that the best way to keep the peace is be prepared for war. But on the same token, he also believed that we should not be involved in foreign entanglements that did not directly influence us.
We have the technology today to hunt these people down and waste them without
a single boot hitting the ground.
We don't have to slaughter young men. Now,
I remember when I was in the Navy, Alex, we were proud of the fact that we could pick which building to hit with our missiles. Now they could pick which window of which building to put the missile through and which ashtray on the table to shatter. I mean, the technology is that good. There's no reason to put our young men at risk.
If you look at the medieval tapestries in the museums, they show knights in shining armor sitting on their horses with big, huge weapons that the peasants weren't allowed to own. And the contest was who could slaughter more of the other guy's peasants. The peasants had nothing to do with it, but they were the ones who suffered.
Right.
And I'm saying that America is a good enough country, a proud enough country, a moral enough country to say, the hell with this.
Yeah, we don't have to resort to that kind of thing. Right.
Kill the Kaiser. Kill Mao Zedong. These are the people that not so much Mao Zedong, Hitler. These are the people that, you know why they didn't assassinate Hitler, by the way? They had it set up to assassinate him, and they decided that he was more useful as a leader on the opposite side than he was dead. He made so many mistakes that they considered him an asset. Anyway, I'm just saying that the news media has...
it's good stuff. It's good stuff. But I do want to get on to some other things because we got limited time here. So real quick, I want to mention the candidates real quick. Elizabeth Warren is completely nuts and a socialist. So Pocahontas, and I'm talking like last night and on what we've been hearing. Bernie Sanders has admitted that addressing man-made climate change hoax will result in job loss. His quote, yes, there will be some job loss. I acknowledge that. Biden, fourth place. He's the only non-hardcore socialist on the Democrat stage. And he was supposed to be the front runner. He's supposed to be the salvation of the party. He's having trouble hanging on to fourth place and, of course, his right mind. Bloomberg has been paying his way into the presidency while hammering on the wealthy. And he's paying social media influencers to click like on his social media page. Buttigieg, his campaign was caught inserting audience applause into CNN town hall clip and says that there's no evidence that killing Soleimani made America safer. And the Iowa caucus, just like New Hampshire, is still a mess. The Dems can't even count a few thousand votes, and yet they think they can run the country. And I'm going to end this part of it with James Carville says Democrats are losing their damn minds. Are any of the candidates, guys, do they have a chance? And has anything that they've said recently really stood out to you? Because I want to talk about these lefties and that are on the Democrat ballot. And let's talk about a few of them. Let's not spend a lot of time on this, but let's talk about a few of them. Alan, why don't you open up?
Well, I did watch part of the debate, the chitty chat. I actually found it difficult to listen to them because and I'm thinking,
was your BS meter going off, or
no? I understand what you're saying. I just wonder what planet you're from. But and pretty much everyone that spoke had something worthy of note. The one I really picked up on other than just looking at these people, Biden for one, Warren for another, and I'm looking at their faces, and I'm not saying they're ugly, but their look scares me.
Pure evil. You could see the evil in them.
Biden is, to me, I don't know if
Biden's
it's evil.
Just kind of mentally deranged.
They are insatiably hungry for power.
Well, in Biden's case, he's insatiably hungry for someone to rub the leg hairs on his leg.
I thought it was his back hair. But anyway, no, that's right, it's leg hair. Anyway, one of the things he said, I believe I got this correct, is that, and this is, where we bring the Constitution in, and Doug, you would know this better than I, that, and I didn't know that the U.S. government had this. It's called, according to Biden, the non-enumerated powers.
Oh, wait, whoa. Non-enumerated powers.
Yes. See, okay, look.
Dennis, did you hear that? The federal government, according to Biden, has non-enumerated powers. Never mind implied powers. They have non-enumerated powers. Real quick, Dennis, just one sentence. First thought.
Well, again, they're just they're inventing
I expect
things.
You go, what? Yeah, is he crazy? Go ahead.
Well, they're inventing things. They're trying to create, a foundation upon which to build their lives. And implied powers, they take a statement and they say, well, this is what I think it means. And now they don't even have the statement. So now it's non-enumerated. In other words, it's not there. So we're just going to say that we can do it anyway. It's ridiculous, and they ought to be called out.
It's like when Obama said that the Constitution was full of negative liberties. It told the federal government what it could not do, but it did not tell the government what it should do. Remember that one. But anyway, go ahead and finish your sentence there, Dennis, and I'll get back to Alan.
No, I mean that's basically it. I agree with the way you summarized it. That's fine.
It just blew me out of the water when you said that, Alan.
Well, if you have, and think about this, okay, the Constitution was written by the independent, sovereign, strong-willed 13 states. They had long stopped being colonies.
12 of them. Rhode Island decided not to show up.
Oh, bite me. Anyway, so you had these states saying, we're going to create a federal government for a specific reason, and it's going to have limited powers, and everything we don't give it belongs to the states and or the people.
Right.
This way we've got a tight collar and a short leash.
Right.
That's
so if the federal government's going to do anything, it's going to be listed. If it's not listed, it's not a power.
And they call them the enumerated powers, and I think there's 37, something like that. Anyway,
there's like 18 or 19 on Article 1, Section 8 alone. But anyway, go ahead.
So you get these enumerated powers. Lovely. Well, if you, as a federal government that is supposed to be limited to specific things, now has the, pun intended, the right to non-enumerated powers, that means you're not limited in any way, shape, or form.
Well, that goes to that Democrat last Thursday night. Well, don't you want a government that takes care of its people?
No, I want people.
That's one of the non-enumerated powers, isn't it? Taking care of its people?
Well, the thing is, if a federal government has non-enumerated powers, which means it's endless, number one,
right?
It's completely controlling.
No limit to the power they can take or put in place.
Then what have you just eliminated from the table? The
Liberty.
Constitution. No, the Constitution's gone.
Right.
Because it's no longer the tight collar and short leash that it was designed to be. So if I, the federal government, have basically unlimited non-enumerated powers, I am uncontrollable.
Well, now, since Biden says we have non-enumerated powers, does that give the Supreme Court the opening to declare the Constitution unconstitutional?
That would be irrelevant. Because
I mean, you think I'm joking, folks. I'm waiting for the left to declare the Constitution unconstitutional.
Well, we know it was written by white, racist, privileged males.
Well,
so it's got to be bad. It's got to be bad.
Now, wow. All right, Dennis, any of the Democrat Party characters standing out for you? Any of the things that they've said lately that's got you going, what the?
Well, the whole premise is off base. I mean, where do you start? I mean, if I'm standing there with on a firing range, and the guy's got, the bullets in his gun, and none of them hit the target. I mean, he's shooting 5 feet in front of him. He's shooting at the bird. I mean, nothing. I mean, what do you even say? None of their ideas.
And then he says, hey, look, I've got a whole bunch of not really, but they really did, but they didn't bullseyes.
Well, it is just so blatantly obvious to me and off base. It's not going to work. It's like the old joke that you've said about the two socialists in Italy. That's basically what you have up there on the stage. If you want to tell that joke, go ahead.
The joke he's referring to is my friend ticked off. He says, man, I'm sick of those socialists in Italy. We need to fire them on and vote into office some good socialists. Well, and then there's Don Dix on Thursday night. He said that there was a recent survey that determined that 25% of liberals are on some type of medication. And then he says, what that's telling you is that 75% of them are running around unmedicated. But anyway, I'm sorry, Dennis.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry, Dennis. Go ahead. But, yeah, I mean, it's complete madness, Dennis. I mean, they don't need any rules. They just toss the rules aside, make up their own, and then when those rules disagree with them, they disregard those rules, too.
Well, the things that they're saying, so many young people, it sounds good because they're thinking about, I'm going to get education, I'm going to get this, security blanket, I'm going to get this, get that. It's minimizing their risk.
I'm going to get free college, I'm going to pay off my student loan, and I'm going to be able to get into gay liberal arts art gallery, and then everybody's got all the education they want, but we have no plumbers.
Well, when they find out the true cost to their lifestyle, to their liberty, to their freedom to move and do what they want, then they're going to say, heck no. But that's not being told. Like Paul Harvey, the rest of the story is not being told. They're just sitting there playing kumbaya. They aren't talking about it. Bernie's being a little bit honest. He's telling people, we're going to lose some jobs. Yeah, we're going to have to pay some taxes, and if you don't like it, he's going on to say that the government's going to come in and seize assets. Well, that's typical socialist behavior. And when people hear those punchlines,
the rest of them are kind of dancing around enough to where they're having to lie and make stuff up just to put across their message.
Yeah, Doug, let me throw in something here.
Okay.
This is my little.
And then I'm gonna let Alex too, because he tried to insert a moment too.
This is my little thing, because capitalism always takes the big hit because capitalism is evil, dirty, filthy.
Never mind that the word was created by Marx himself.
And that, capitalism to me is a tool. You never blame the tool for what the worker does with it, because if it all comes down to the tool, then as soon as I get the absolute perfect set of golf clubs, I will become the scratch golfer I deserve to be. But I like to put it this way. Capitalism works, socialism takes, communism dictates. So when you listen to these people, they're not just socialist. They're hiding behind this socialism drape. What there really are is communism, because if you want non-enumerated powers, you want to dictate everything over everything. This is communism.
Don Dix told me that socialism is communism for slow learners.
Well, it sounds good until you take a bite of it.
Yeah, and it turns out to be that poison apple. All right, Alex, you tried to insert something earlier. I want to give you the chance. Go ahead.
Yeah, your socialist is just a communist who doesn't have the guts to fight for what he believes in. But what I was saying was that Biden is a typical liberal in that he doesn't understand the material he's dealing with. He doesn't understand the Constitution, why it's valuable, what it does for humanity. These people are in that compartment. I talk about the compartments of the brain. In that compartment of the brain, they're excuse me, all the wonderful Down syndrome people, but they're morons. They're stupid, and they don't get it. Now, one of the things that the newspaper people, the media people have missed is the Trump doctrine. And I'm saying, I'll go over it again. I'm saying that it is of enormous importance. Last week I heard Trump say, we're not going to go out and kill hundreds of thousands of people because of this incident. He gets it. He gets it. This is earth-shaking in importance if people will just look at it and understand it.
He's not a warmonger. He's not a peacenik. He's someone who understands that with this kind of military strength comes responsibility. And with this kind of military strength, it is in our best interest to only act when it is necessary. All right, real quick, I want to shift gears because I don't want to run out of time here. There was chaos on the show The View. You know that show The View. You all watch it, right? Regularly on ABC. You know, you got Whoopi and Joy Behar. And, there was chaos on The View because Meghan McCain was very upset because Whoopi Goldberg compared Mitt Romney to John McCain. Mitt Romney is the only Republican to vote against Trump in the Senate. The state of Utah has now decided that Mitt Romney is no longer a Republican or a Mormon, I think. But here's the thing. Mike Lee... right, Mike? Right, Dennis? Is Mike Lee is the other Utah senator?
Yes.
Okay. And did you see that quip that Trump, he's talking about Mike Lee during his speech about the acquittal and says that Mike Lee is definitely the most popular senator in Utah. But anyway, so ABC News, The View, co-host Meghan McCain got ticked off of Whoopi because Whoopi compared Mitt Romney to the late Senator John McCain, Meghan McCain's father, and told the panel that Romney is nothing like her dad. And so Goldberg said that Romney's decision to break party lines on Wednesday and vote to convict President Trump. And by the way, Trump says, not a single Republican voted to convict me. Oh, I know you're talking about that one guy. He's not a Republican. But anyway, and so Whoopi Goldberg says, I'm just glad somebody stood up and said, no, I'm going to give faith in him like I gave to your dad. And man, Meghan McCain did not like it. She admitted she's no fan of Romney, didn't appreciate Goldberg linking the two, and said, with all due respect, Mitt Romney is nothing like my dad. I don't, and Goldberg said, I don't agree with Mitt Romney, but he stood up in a way that nobody else has except for your dad, Goldberg said. And then Meghan shot back, don't put all your bets on Romney right now. He will break your heart like he always does. And then she said, referring to Romney, he is nothing. And I thought that was very interesting. That they got into it over that, but and this is not constitutional, but it was just kind of a crack up. When you find out on The View that the left is so out of their mind that they're starting to turn on each other. So anyway, anybody want to add? Well, you know what? I want Dennis, because you've got family in Utah, you've got some roots in Utah. What's wrong with Mitt Romney, man? Or can nobody figure it out?
Well, I don't know. I've followed Mitt a little for a while. I mean, he's a guy that at Harvard. He got his MBA at the same time he got his JD. And I've been thinking about that. He's got a law degree. He should understand that if you get evidence with an invalid search warrant, that the guilty go free. So even in a twisted application, even if he thinks that Trump was guilty, all right, the evidence came from illegal activity between the FISA court and all the stuff. The impeachment started, years before the July 25th phone call. He had plenty of grounds, in my view, to join the other Republicans and say, I'm not going to vote for it because this has not been proceeded
no, it's
correctly.
Not following due process, for one. But yeah.
Well, it's not. And even the people, that thought he was guilty didn't think that it measured up to high crimes and misdemeanors. So he could have still said, I think what he did was improper, egregious, but it doesn't warrant impeachment. But there's something, whether it be his ego, whether it be whatever, he went to the dark side, which to me is unforgivable, and I trust that Utah will fix that as soon as possible.
Alex, you want to add to that?
Yeah, this is what you call fruit of the poison tree. I brought this up a week or two ago.
Fruit of the poison tree.
What's that?
Go ahead, Alex.
The whole process is tainted, and in a legal situation, in a law enforcement situation, they would have to throw the entire case out, no matter how much evidence they had, because it's predicated upon an illegal action, and the illegal action that these people, the FBI agents and such, and Hillary, that they engaged in was worse than any illegal action ever perpetrated against the American government. And yet the liberals are sitting on their hands. They should have prosecuted these people. They should have sent the SWAT team in and searched their homes and all this kind of stuff. They didn't do any of that.
Should have pulled a Roger Stone on them, right?
Yeah, Hillary has been unmolested. All these characters have been unmolested by law enforcement as if they were innocent. It's a two-tiered justice system, and it's got to stop.
All right. Let me real quick go to the next topic. Alan, I'll get you. Gordon Sondland. Alan, I love you, brother, but we're starting to run out of time, and I want to get to a couple more subjects here. Gordon Sondland, the U.S. ambassador to the European Union, who testified during the House impeachment investigation, is out of a job, according to his attorney. Sondland's exit comes the same day as Alexander Vindman, a national, which is that you will address me as Colonel guy, a National Security Council official who also testified, was also ousted from his job. Added note, remember, Ukraine offered to Vindman a national security job there 3 times. And now the president is being criticized for removing these people from the White House team or his administration, the executive branch. And my first response is they have proven that they want to end his presidency, that they are not his friends, they are his enemies, and they serve at the pleasure of the President of the United States and the executive branch. Wouldn't you remove them if somebody was a direct threat to what you're trying to do for this country? Sondland and Vindman's gone. Good riddance.
Well, I'm still crying. I'm trying to get over it. The thing that gets me is that it really does not matter what the president does. You're going to do everything possible to spin a negative comment.
Right.
Okay, and the key is, this is my understanding, when you work for the administration, you know going in, you work at the pleasure of the president. Period. You have no guarantee. You have no job guarantee. Right. You have no contract. This is completely unilateral. So the fact that
real quick. Let me interrupt real quick. We've got a primary election that's getting ready to happen in about a month, and let's say one of these candidates, local candidates, gets elected, and they hire me on a staff, and then once I'm on their staff, I'm doing everything I can to sabotage their job. Should I stay on board as a staff member?
Well, if you're a believer in full diversity and everything, yeah, of course. I'm kidding. No, you're going to get hammered. The other thing is, just real quick, on the Ukraine thing and the quid pro quo for the foreign aid and all this other garbage. Guys, how is it that our foreign aid, which is a gift, is compulsory?
Right.
That's number one. Two, if you're talking about giving foreign aid to a country that apparently is universally known to be somewhat corrupt, why wouldn't you want to find out about some specific aspect, given that no one has said that there had to be a guaranteed outcome of the inquiry? But even if there was a quid pro quo, which I don't think there was, because I read the manuscript of the conversation, why would that matter?
Right.
Okay, it's and given what other administrations have done, if you go back to the Lend-Lease thing, wasn't there a quid pro quo with that during the war?
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's like I was on a Democrat last Thursday, that same Democrat that was accusing me of believing in the magical sky wizard. What I was explaining to her is, if I'm president of the United States and we're giving aid, don't I want to make sure that the country I'm giving aid to isn't racked in corruption? Well, yeah, but he was investigating Biden. No. Asking to investigate Burisma or mentioning investigation of Burisma does not mean investigate a certain person. It means investigate that organization. It's like if I wanted to, investigate the House, I'm not saying, well, I'm investigating the House, so that really means I'm investigating Schiff. No, I'm investigating the House. Schiff's a part of the House. He's going to be part of that investigation, but it's not about him. It's about investigating the House. And that their whole thing is, number one, that he was saying that, I won't give you your monies unless you investigate the Bidens. He didn't say that. First of all, but even if he did, he didn't say Biden's anyway. It would be Burisma. And if I was president, I'd want to make sure whoever I'm getting money to wasn't steeped in corruption, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And since you brought up the next election in California, if we get time, I'd like to mention just something briefly about AB 2070. That is an assembly bill introduced on February 4th, 2020. This one's scary. I don't know if you want to get to it now or later.
Please do, real quick.
Okay, real quick. AB 2070. You're going to find this hard to believe, but it came from an elected person out of northern San Francisco. I know, crazy. Basically,
so they were able to get a message out despite all of the crap and needles. Okay, I got you. Go ahead.
Yeah, somehow they got it out. Anyway, the upshot
Paper
of this
was smudged a little bit, but
I don't touch it. Don't even touch it.
Got the gloves on.
It's amazing they were actually able to get it out. Anyway, what they want to do is, and this is for California, if you register to vote, you will be required to cast ballots under the new bill. And if you don't, you could be, because and this is from this person, and I think democracy is a 4-letter word. Democracy is not a spectator sport.
Well, and the thing is, I don't want those that are dirtying our gene pool to be voting anyway.
Right. And this comes from Assemblyman Mark Levine out of San Rafael. And that the idea is that if you don't vote, you could be subject to civil penalties. And apparently there are 30 countries in the world that have voting laws on the books. I don't know what they say, but that would include Australia, Belgium, and Brazil. So when you now are being told that if you do not vote and if you don't cast a ballot, you could be subject to civil penalties. What scares me, forget the civil penalties. I'll tell you what scares me, or I'm unhappy about, is the kind of surveillance you're talking about. You're talking about somebody, some entity in this case the state government, that has somehow access to all voters or all people who've registered to vote, and then they're somehow going to track whether you voted or not. And if you don't, you're going to get hit with a penalty. And tell me, if you voted and the entity says no, you didn't, how do you prove you did? You show them the little sticker, I voted. and just last thing to show you how bad this can be, I read a report some time ago. Social Security, God bless them, they declare, according to this article, 1,000 people dead a month that aren't dead. Now, it could take months and months for you to convince Social Security while you stand in front of them and yell at them that you're not dead. The problem is when Social Security tells the world you're dead, your access to your bank accounts, to credit, and a lot of other things, including your Social Security check, goes away.
Right.
So now you're going to have a state government entity tracking you, which this just bothers me to no end.
Well, I mean, meanwhile in California, if you went to DMV at any time this year, you were likely changed from Republican to no party. And then when they send you the card, if you want to change to pick a party, I got a copy of one of the cards. If I could put a picture on my phone, I'll see if I can find it real quick. For those who are watching the video feed on KMET, you don't have a choice for Republican. It's either Democrat, Libertarian, or Independent.
There's no other?
Right. Yeah. No. As a matter of fact, hang on, see if I can get it real quick here. I'm looking for the form. I took a picture of it on my phone. I don't see it yet.
Well, Nate Holder already established this power.
Yeah.
When Eric Holder, when the Black Panthers were blocking some voter polls, they were convicted of interfering in people's right to vote, and Holder withdrew the complaint.
Right.
Apparently, it's okay. So if you can say you can't vote, then you can say you have to vote.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's insane. It's insane on its face.
Well, not really if you consider a non-enumerated power.
Notice I'm speechless, and that doesn't happen often.
Sorry.
Non-enumerated. Yeah, okay, here we go. So, let's see if I can get this up here. I'm looking at it. It says, here, hopefully this translates to the camera for those who are watching. I want to show you that there's, on this particular form, there's no choice for.
Move it over the other way. There you go. Yeah.
There's the three choices. I know it looks bad. Yeah, there you go.
Well, at least they have it in alphabetical order.
So there you go. All right, so it'd be illegal not to vote. So what? You penalized, you're thrown in jail, you pay a fine.
It was not
you put
detailed.
In the
gulag. That's ultimately going to be it. It didn't say what the civil penalties were, but given the movement to non-enumerated powers, if you can demand that someone vote. Now, again, I don't know if there's any exceptions or exemptions, such as you're in a coma, you're hospitalized. That may not get you out of the civil penalties. But if you can be demanded or commanded to vote or face civil penalties, does that eventually lead to being commanded to vote a specific way or face civil penalties?
So we can't establish a religion, but we can establish a political party that is religiously followed.
Well, of course.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. Boy, I tell you, this is something. All right, real quick, because once again, running out of time, I want to get over these last few things. Trump administration raised $100 million during the impeachment. It made him more popular. On their polls, he is now rated higher than he's ever been in his presidency, 49%, which is 10% higher than Obama was at this point in his presidency. And Obama got reelected. Trump's policies have led to the U.S. adding 225,000 jobs in January, a number that the MSNBC, CNN warriors and the Alphabet warriors were saying was not possible. Maybe 100,000, they would say. 225,000 jobs in January, blowing away all predictions and dropping the unemployment rate to 3.5%. It's the economy, stupid. James Carville, isn't he the one that coined that? But he's also saying that the Democrats are out of their damn mind. Mr. Carville, you're correct. The Democrats are out of their damn mind, and it's the economy, stupid. And finally, with 4.5 minutes ago, in China, journalists covering the coronavirus are disappearing. Why is China being so weird about this disease? I think Tom Cotton is onto something. Tom Cotton said he doesn't believe that it began because of bat soup. He believes it's a virus that escaped a laboratory in Wuhan.
Bingo.
We've got
the Russians had that happen a couple of times.
Yeah, we got only a minute each for each of you guys. So be quick. First, Alex. Alex, do you agree? Is Tom Cotton right? Did it come out of a laboratory?
I believe that it's more than possible. I'm saying it's probable. Like I say, the Russians lost control of some weaponized smallpox decades ago, and they wiped out a couple of villages.
Right. Okay. Dennis, what are your thoughts about the coronavirus, China, whether or not they engineered it or it came out of bat soup, and the fact that journalists covering the coronavirus are vanishing?
Well, none of it is beyond me. I could see that they manufactured it. I don't know that. I mean, that's the beauty of all this stuff in the news. Nobody knows anything. It's just all conjecture. Now, when they have the opportunity to get facts, nobody wants to get facts. Now, you can't go into China, but you can sure as hell go into FISA court. So we're guilty of the stuff we can figure out, we don't, and the stuff that we would like to know about. You know, I don't blame the other guy for not wanting to fess up that they were trying to wipe out the United States with a virus that maybe leaked. Who knows?
You said something very funny. Nobody knows anything, until it comes to Trump's impeachment. Then they're absolutely positive because of their presumptions.
That's why facts matter. That's why they need to, on the FISA, they need to go in and get the facts and take care of business.
All right. Alan.
The only level 4 lab in China, level 4 is the highest level of security and protection, is 20 miles from that seafood market. They were working on this stuff. I was on another program earlier today, and we could not say coronavirus because we could only say CV, because otherwise they would be demonetized. The first doctor
you could not say coronavirus coronavirus because they could be demonetized? Are you serious?
Yes. Yeah, I'm very serious. So we can only say...
Is Corona beer upset because there's a bunch of Democrats that think that means if you drink a Corona beer, you might get infected?
That's their problem. The doctor, the ophthalmologist who first blew the whistle on this in his own little local social media group, and the only reason the Chinese government police found out about it is because his friends from school blasted it out in social media and didn't take his name off it. Well, he now has since died.
Oh, boy.
But before he died, and after they found out about him, they brought him into the police station, apparently reprimanded him, and he had to apologize for what he did. Well, now he's passed. Is this...
Well, I'm kind of surprised, because usually when people start dying, I just immediately think Clintons.
Yeah. Well, okay. This is coronavirus. And then if this is not a dangerous thing, why did, once it popped, why did they, among other things, close down Wuhan, a city of 11 million people?
Incredible. Well, we're going to find out. We got another week before the next show, and we got about 30 seconds before this one's over. So we'll talk more about this next week. Alex, plug yourself.
Yeah, what's worse than finding a worm in your apple?
Finding an apple in your worm.
Finding half a worm in your apple. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. What's the website?
ConservativeCannonade.org. It's where all the truth is.
Dennis.
EnemiesWithinMovie.com.
Alan.
FedEd, F-E-D-E-D, FedEd.us.
United we stand, combined we kick butt. God bless America, and God bless you. Where we stand, when we stand all. Thank you for listening to the program. PoliticalPistachio.com, DouglasVGibbs.com. We'll see you next week. Love you all.